Welcome. If you're just joining us, post a quick note over in the chat and say hello. If you're watching this later, I'm sorry we missed you. But Mercury will be going retrograde next month, so this will be the new normal anyway. So we have a lot to cover. March is a really interesting month. And so as we start thinking about March, I want you to start thinking about the word preparation. Because really a lot of what March is bringing us is the theme of preparation. If you are in the Northern Hemisphere, I don't know where you all are, but it's spring here. Barely, but it is. And so we are starting, whenever it's spring at our house, we start the garden, right? We've got the seedlings going in the basement under the grow lights. My husband has outlined all the beds. We are weeding, because we didn't do it at the end of last year like we were supposed to. And so, we're getting ready for the spring. And so preparation is the name of the game. And as we think about preparation, I want to start because these events, these monthly energy reports are sponsored by our Understanding Human Design community. And so one of the things I want to just really, actually, this is again a highlight of March. When we look at resilience, which is, as you may know, a big theme for me. When we look at resilience happens in community, right? We are more resilient when we have people that have their hands on our back. My Team Quantum here it gives me personally the resilience to be able to fulfill and serve my mission. They all, I think, share big parts of this mission too, just in their own hearts. And our collaboration, our team is a big part of creating resiliency within our business and being able to then put our hands on your back so that you have more resilience. When we start to learn human design, you start speaking a different vocabulary, right? You're talking with a different voice. You're sharing from a different place, a different understanding. And oftentimes that makes the people in your life kind of confused, right? About what are you doing? And they start to override and tell you things like, well, you can't live that way and you can't do that. And why are you waiting? You shouldn't be waiting. No waiting, right? We're supposed to go, 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 right? And so we need oftentimes extra support in really learning how to hold true to our design and stay in our experiment. So that community piece, which is what we created in the Understanding Human Design community, is so essential to get you grounded and settled and strengthened and supported and resilient in living your design. So I want to give you just a little bit of information about the Understanding Human Design community. Hang on a second. I've been out of the office for 4 days and I can't remember anything about how to make all the buttons work. Okay, here we go. So in our membership group, we have 3 to 5 calls live each month. So you get most weeks a live call with me personally. Those are our coaching calls. We have specific themes that we cover each week. Plus, once a month, we do an advanced training that goes deep into specific topics like human design and money, human design and relationships. You get the opportunity to participate in community with others. We also have a community director, Teresa Miller. She is amazing, part of Team Quantum, right? Teresa brings in all kinds of learning, all kinds of creativity. Teresa's background is she's a creativity coach and a book writing coach, and she brings all this stuff about creatively integrating your human design into everything in your life. So this is a place where not only do you get to work with me personally in a group setting, but you also get to connect with other people who are going through similar parts of their human design journey. We have we have a private online community. It's not Facebook, which today is a good thing, right? Because Facebook isn't working today. Sorry, Facebook. So we have a private online community, no ads, it's very curated. So it's a very safe and beautiful space. And it's a place, again, where people are connecting, exploring human design. You can post information and questions about your chart. One of the things I love about this community is I've actually had people in our community who reached out and connected on our circle community and actually realized, we live close to each other, and started having coffee together and having real live, hugging community groups. So it's a great place to meet new people who are speaking that same human design language. We have, as I said, a couple of times a year, we do a How to Live Your Design program. We call it the Expedition, where we actually go through in depth the parts of your chart. So if you're wanting to learn more about your chart, if you want to go deeper into understanding your chart, going through the expedition process, meaning focusing on type, focusing on the lines in your profiles, focusing on how your centers are configured, and then going through a very beautiful process at the end, a story lab process, where you use creativity to consciously regain control over the story you tell about who you are and how you are. There's something we do in there. So this month, we're actually going through the centers and exploring the centers again. This is actually something I encourage people to do on many, many levels. Even if you think you know your design, I do this myself. I'm in my 25th year of living my design, and I still go back and learn something new about the basics every single time I study and learn and explore. We also have once a week a pre-recorded weekly energy forecast. So you get the forecast for the week, plus it comes with an ebook version of the Quantum Human Design Evolution Guide. So you get the free ebook version of the Evolution Guide, plus weekly exercises and contemplations. So you can work, every week, get a chance to see what's ahead for the week, where are we at with the weather. It helps people figure out things so much more clearly. And of course, it gives you a way to optimize the energies of the week so that you can get the most out of them. I want to just thank you all for being here, for joining us. So I am going to be giving you today, as sort of a thank you for joining me and thinking about March and looking at the energy report for March, a free 1-month trial membership. So if you have not joined our membership before and you want to really check it out, you want to get in there, maybe be part of the expedition that we're in the middle of, look at some of the classes and programmings that we've done, come to one of the coaching calls. You have an opportunity here for a free 1-month trial membership. So just join us. You're going to see what an incredibly beautiful and amazing place the Understanding Human Design membership is. So, all right, that's our sponsorship for today. This is my little sponsorship advertisement. So, all right, March. Take a breath, because March is all about taking a breath, and that breath is about aligning yourself. So when we talk about the energy, what's happening in March, I want you to think not only preparation, but to recognize that preparation happens with alignment. So we're preparing the matrix, right? We are preparing the matrix for growth, expansion, creativity, intentionality. We're getting ready to come into eclipse season. We've got all of this intense springtime, explosive growth potential energy showing up. But if we don't self-regulate growth, meaning when we're not making sure the matrix within which we grow is fertile and well tended to. Think about, again, you're going to hear me talk a lot this month about gardening metaphors. Think about the garden, right? If you put your seeds in sand and they need rich, fertile soil, you're not going to get much growth, right? You're going to get a scrappy, if you even get growth, you'll get something not very healthy, right? If you don't keep the soil fertilized and turned, if you aren't making sure that the environment within which you plant your seeds is supportive of that growth, then you're not going to get good growth. You have the opportunity in this season, celestially speaking, to really make sure that the matrix within which you plant your seeds is solid, is well-nourished and sustainable. And the theme, the practice for us to create a solid matrix for creative expansion is alignment, meaning it is an important time for us to look at some vital themes. The first theme being sustainability. We still have playing out in the nodes, which I'll talk about in a minute, themes that are rotating around the will center, which is a center that is all about sustainable expansion, sustainable use of resources, being sustainable in the world, being in integrity with ourselves. And we can't be in integrity if we're burned out. We don't have a good matrix for growth if we're burned out, right? If we're burned out, we're going to be reacting, right? Our positions are going to be defensive. I'll share with you all personally. I am coming through a really long cycle of very low grade burnout, but burnout. COVID was hard. And I'm sure for all of you, COVID was hard too. I got COVID about 100 times. It took a toll on me physically. I was homeschooling my kid. My husband lost several friends to COVID. My family lost friends to COVID. It was just a really, really rough cycle. And I couldn't see my family. I couldn't see my kids. I was worried about my old aging parents. And I didn't realize, until I kind of got out of this burnout phase, how it was taking a toll on me. And some of you may have experienced that too. What I noticed, and you may notice this too, is that when I don't have the resources, the internal resources, right? I'm not nice. I was not nice to my family, particularly to my husband, who took a lot of brunt of my frustration and my exhaustion. And it wasn't really helping me create sustainably. It was everything I was intending had a sort of reactive bent to it. It wasn't exactly what I wanted. It was close, but not exactly. And I was frustrated and I couldn't really figure it out. That's the matrix within which I was creating because I wasn't in alignment with my own sustainability. And maybe some of you relate to that or you experience that yourselves, right? That when we're not sustainable, when we don't have the energy, it's hard for us to uphold our agreements. It's hard for us to take care of ourselves. It's hard to be self-regulated, right? Self-discipline requires self-worth and it requires energy. And if we don't have that sustainability, it's very hard to create what we want. Now, as we're entering into March, those themes are still very much playing out in the backdrop, in the shadow backdrop of the themes of March. And certainly a big important exploration is to really check in with yourself and ask, where am I at with my energy? Am I strong? Am I solid? Am I sustaining myself in every way? And I would certainly say make an agreement with yourself right now at the very beginning of this month that this month you're going to really focus on intentional self-care and self-nourishment, really exploring what do you need to do to get this bank of energy that is the will center. Where are you going to get that bank filled up? It is literally like a bank account, right? When we have when our bank accounts are good and healthy, we're not bouncing checks, right? Then we have the resources. We are resourced and we can do more and we can create more, right? But if we are in the red, if we've depleted that account, it hampers what we can do. And everything we do from that point becomes somewhat desperate, right? We're just desperate to get back to baseline. This month is not about baseline. It's about sustaining baseline and expanding upon it and being intentional, really working with the themes of self-regulation and self-discipline. So I'm going to start first as I look at the celestial weather for the month. Let's start first with the big picture overview and the slower moving planets and the themes within which we're playing. So our nodes this month, the nodes, I always think of the nodes as sort of the plot outline of the story. It's like where you started and where you're heading, right? So our south node theme is the 57. That's instinct. So it has the potential, by the way, in the shadow for this to be the fear of the future, right? And it's certainly, if you're reading the news, it's easy to look at the news and be a little bit afraid of the future. But remember, the future is highly malleable, okay? Nothing is set in stone. We can change everything on a dime if we get the right alignment and create the right matrix for growth. So our south node is in the 57, north node is in the 51, initiation. So we're sitting with this instinctual awareness of what's necessary, what needs to happen, right? And we have this really brilliant opportunity to use that awareness to initiate ourselves, to start something new, to explore and expand. And this initiation, by the way, is a spiritual initiation. It's an initiation that comes from reconnecting with our purpose. And so really, to me right now, the nodes are sort of saying, hey, look at how it is right now, feel it, sense it, recognize that we're working in this pattern towards this very specific future that could potentially look kind of glum. And go back to exploring the question, well, what do I want? Is that what I want? Do I want to head towards that? And really ask yourself, how do you stay in gratitude about where you are, but not let that gratitude be settling, right? To use that gratitude as a matrix for you to then explore the bigger question, which is, okay, if we're headed this direction and it's looking like this, and I don't really like where it's headed, or instinctually, I'm feeling like we got to make some shifts and changes here. What needs to shift and change? Because that's really what that 51 energy is asking for, right? What needs to shift and change? And change takes energy. Change, that 51 energy is rooted on the will center. So again, we're going back to, you can't make those changes if you're not resourced. So again, intentional self-care allows us to implement the intentions, the dreams, the expansion. We're going to talk a lot about dreams this month, because those dreams and that expansion is actually an energy that gives you drive. It gives you the capacity to actually grow and expand. So our nodes, the shadow of these nodes is that fear and holding ourselves back, being in reactive patterns, and especially reactive patterns that keep us playing small, that North Node energy has a potential to come along and zap us, to say, nope, you're thinking too small. You're holding yourself to old patterns. You're stuck in a pattern. And in the shadow of that energy, it feels shocking. It can feel like the rug gets pulled out from under us because we're not supposed to play small. And so there's a potential in these nodal energies for things to be really disruptive, because we need to change, right? We're being invited to change. And if we don't do those changes, and we fail to make those transitions, those growth, take advantage of those growth opportunities, then the universe in its infinite brilliance zaps us. It wakes us up, because we're not supposed to be playing small. You're not supposed to be playing small. Pluto highlights the gate 60, the gate of conservation. Again, on a bigger level, Pluto is about death and rebirth. It brings these big generational cycles in. The 60 is conservation. And that can be conservation in the context of politics and orthodoxy and all those places where our very extreme positions that we adopt when we don't want to make a change, right? When we are trying to go back to how things used to be, that's a definition of conservatism. That if we don't move forward, then again, we get zapped, right? Things start to come apart because we can't go back. You cannot go back to how things used to be. But there are people who are so afraid of the future that they are wanting to go back to how things used to be. Some of us have parts of ourselves that we want to go back to how things used to be, and you can't. Once you see, you can't unsee, right? Once we evolve, we can't unevolve. It doesn't work that way. And so Pluto is really causing us to have to get serious about where are we going and how do we move ourselves forward intentionally and with great deliberation. Now, here's the thing to pay attention to. Pluto and that highlighting the gate 60 is also the energy of gratitude. And again, we're in this really weird place where we have to hold gratitude for where we are, but not use that gratitude as settling, because we tend to do that. I think in our community, we're really bad about that, right? We try so hard to be grateful for where we are, and we should be. I'm not saying don't be grateful, but we let that gratitude translate to settling, right? We say it is as it is. Right? We accept it as it is, and we work on being grateful for it instead of proclaiming, wait, I'm grateful for what I have, but I need to declare more for me. I need to expect more. Even though I'm grateful for what I have, I deserve more. And that's a will center energy, by the way, that deserving piece. You deserve more. And oftentimes, we don't let ourselves really explore the question, what do you deserve versus the gratitude? And you can actually hold both of those energies at the same time. But if you're holding gratitude as a way of actually very cleverly avoiding that forward momentum, then sometimes that gratitude translates into settling. And so again, as part of creating that matrix, a good exploration this month is where you may be settling. Where are you using gratitude as a disguise for accepting less than what you really want? And again, going back to that question, what do you want? What do you want? That's a big, important question this month. Uranus highlights the gate 23, the gate of transmission. So what I love about Uranus, I skipped Neptune. I'll go back to Neptune in a second. I know I skipped Neptune, but Uranus highlighting that gate 23 really says that expect downloads. Just expect downloads right now. Uranus is really, again, inviting us into this tango of transformation. And Uranus has a tendency to pull the rug out from under us. Again, same theme here. And it brings us unusual insights and unusual awarenesses. And they come up and they may show up in different ways. And certainly with that 23 energy, that is the energy of downloads. And so expect that you're going to know things. And of course, we have that South Node theme at 57. That's also about instinct and intuition. So really a month for you to move into a space of deepening your trust in your own intuition. That's also part of aligning the matrix within which you're growing, by the way. It means you have to give yourself permission to not stay in your lane, if you will, but to step out of the lane and define your own path and to trust your own inner knowingness. Do the work, trust your own inner knowingness. Don't be afraid to get off the path and craft your own. Neptune highlights the gate 36, the gate of miracles. It moves next month. Yes, finally into gate 25, the gate of spirit. And this is kind of a last month, a last cycle with Neptune, where we are really looking at where do we need to break free from limitations, from patterns of the past. Neptune is really saying for us to experience spiritual growth, we have to be willing to get out of the old way. We have to step out of the old way so we can move into expansion. You can see in this outer planetary sort of energy that there's this big theme of change and transformation, moving forward and evolving, and really making sure that we're not holding ourselves back, not looking back. I really love the story of Lot's wife, right? Where Lot's wife, as they leave, the burning city behind, and they're escaping right from the past. Her grief is so strong that and they were told, do not look back, right? Do not look back. And she just couldn't stop herself from looking back. And she looked back at the burning city, right? And the tears of her grief turned to salt, and she turned to a pillar of salt. That's a good metaphor for this month. Don't turn to a pillar of salt. Keep yourself looking forward, even if it feels like, there's all this grief and the building is burning. We are consciously, intentionally, and deliberately crafting a bigger, better future for ourselves. And to do that, we cannot look back. We can take the lessons and the blessings of the past, but we can't get stuck in looking back and let the grief stop us and turn us into pillars of salt. We have kind of a fun adventure this month with Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn is holding the gate 37, the gate of peace, moving to the gate 63, the gate of curiosity on March the 13th. Saturn brings us lessons and challenges. And whatever those challenges are, we get the rewards of those challenges highlighted by the position that Jupiter is holding. So Jupiter holds the gate 24, the gate of blessings. I just talked about that, right? Moving to the gate 2, the gate of allowing on March the 12th. So really what Jupiter is saying is if you master your inner peace, that's the 37, Saturn in the 37, and you maintain an open mind, if you stay open to all possibilities and curiosity, and don't shut your mind down thinking, oh, I got this figured out, because you're not supposed to figure it out, right? You're supposed to expand. And really, we're supposed to expand beyond what we can figure out. That's the other themes coming up later. So when we stay open-minded and we stay in the flow of curiosity and wonder, and we explore the world through a questioning mind that's open-minded, then Jupiter says, you're going to find the blessings from the pain of the past, right? So when you look back, you won't be looking back with grief. You'll be looking back with gratitude, and you'll expand. You'll open up. That's that gate 2, what you're willing to allow yourself to receive, right? You'll stop settling for less than, and you'll open yourself up to be prepared to receive more. And so this beautiful combination of themes really sets the tone, I think, for the work that was laid out for us in the month of March. All right. Let's start for our next. Let's go look at the moon. We have a new moon. Oh, I did put the date down for the new moon. I didn't put the dates down. Silly me. Hold up. I got to find the dates for the new moon. We have a new moon this month on March the 10th. This is a new moon highlighting the gate 22, the gate of surrender. We have a full moon on, write this down, on March the 25th. And that full moon is our first eclipse of the year. It's a lunar eclipse highlighting the gate 18. So the moon Our new moon energy in the gate 22 is saying, okay, you've set the tone and the direction. You've really explored, what do I want? You've built the faith. You really are telling a good story, right? And now the new moon says, now let it go. And it's not letting it go like, whatever, it's not going to happen. The new moon is basically saying, where do you need to trust the process, to let yourself know that you've done the work, you've dreamed it, you've created the energy for it, you've got the faith, you've envisioned it, you've answered the question, what do I want? And now you have to let it go. Don't sit there worrying about it. Don't sit there trying to figure it out. Don't sit there, panicking about, am I ready? Don't even do all that. Just trust the process. But, and this is a big but sustain the alignment, right? That gate 18 with this lunar eclipse. Anytime we have these eclipses basically amplify the moon, right? So when we have a lunar eclipse, then we are amplifying the theme of the moon. And that theme of the moon highlighting the gate 18 is getting everything out of the way, right? That's causing us to stay out of alignment. It's shifting and changing our patterns. So we really are exploring the theme of, is my dream big enough? Do I have a dream that's big enough? Do I have enough faith? And to recognize that alignment, meaning telling a really good story about who you are and how you are. And I would say telling a really good story about what you deserve. The alignment is the training wheels for faith, right? When you know what you deserve, then it's much easier for you to have faith. And then faith holds that dream in place so that all of that hidden mystery, magic, synchronicity, serendipity, all of that process can then unfold, and you don't have to keep peeking at it, right? You've planted the seed. If you plant the seed and you keep digging it up to see if it's growing, it's not going to grow. You're going to kill the seed, right? So don't keep peeking at it. Trust that it's done. I've created the matrix. I have the clarity. I've planted the seed. I'm taking care of the seed. I'm watering it. I'm making sure it has light. I'm making sure that, the birds aren't pecking away at the dirt trying to steal the seed. But I trust the process. I'm a steward in the process, but I'm trusting the process. And that remember that dream has to be about joy. Your dream has to fulfill some part of joy. Doesn't mean it's not going to be hard sometimes. It will. Let's be honest. Sometimes it is. It's going to require a certain amount of work, right? Which we can do because we've sustained ourselves and we have the energy for it, right? But that it has to be a dream that's big enough, and it has to be a dream that inspires joy, because when we don't have joy, we lose our drive. And when our dreams are big enough and they're joyful enough, then we do have drive. And when we have drive, then we're able to fulfill that dream, and we can stay in the energy of holding that structure, that template for that dream, and trust that the details will get filled in, right? All right, let's go to the sun and the earth. Remember, the sun is what we're here to give the world, or what we're focusing on giving. The earth is what we're receiving, what we need to ground ourselves. The sun transits through a bunch of different sun-earth pairs. So I'm going to read them to you. And again, these are in the 2024 Quantum Human Design Evolution Guide. And again, when you join the membership, you'll also get weekly updates. So you'll stay current with the sun and the earth. So the sun starts off in March, highlighting the gate 63, the earth, the gate 64. On the 7th of March, that's in 2 days, it moves to the 22, surrender, and the 47, mindset. On the 13th, highlights the gate 36 and the gate 6. I'll tell you what this all means in just a second. On the 18th, it moves to the 25th and the 46, the 25. Sorry, not 25th, the 25 and the 46. That's the middle of the quarter, right? We hit the vessel of love in the middle of every quarter. So we get an opportunity to really make sure we're aligning with love and really aligning with spiritual love. On the 24th, the sun moves to the 17 and the 18. Beware of criticism that week. And on the 30th, the sun moves to the 21 and the 48, giving us the theme of self-regulation. So here are the themes. If you look at the themes of the sun-earth combos, we've got possibility, mindset, breaking free from the old patterns, love, planning and preparation, self-regulation, and going deep and preparing, right? So the sun and the earth this month are really saying, get the inner environment clear. that inner matrix for growth and expansion. Get your mindset in a good, solid space. Make sure you're not defaulting to old patterns. Make sure that you're connecting to source and you're getting on your knees and praying or meditating or whatever you need to do to make sure that you are not letting those old patterns run the show. Prepare the way. And that preparation is about doing the physical things that need to happen, but it's also about making sure you're sustaining yourself. You're taking care of your energy, that you are building your capacity and your amplitude so that you're able to really do the work necessary and follow the threads of magic that the universe lays out for you as you continue to trust the process. Regulate yourself. That means take care of yourself and be prepared to go deep. You're going to be invited this month to do the homework. You're going to have to do the homework of self-regulation and studying and learning and building a practice, right? Gardening is not easy. It's joyful, it's fulfilling, and it's wonderful, but you have to go tend the garden every day. And so the sun and the earth are really saying, set the stage for you to have a mindset that supports you in tending the garden of your dream, if you will. All right. That came out nice. I like that. All right. Let's look at Mars, Venus, and Mercury. First thing I want to just say is Mercury goes retrograde next month. So by mid-March, be prepared for things to start going a little wonky, because that's just how it works. That means take a breath. Anytime we have retrograde cycles, they're all about pausing, right? They're all about taking an intentional pause and intentionally resting and doing a really good, solid review of what's up, right? What's up. So just be ready that at the end of the month, we're going to be moving into an energy of Mercury retrograde. Mercury this month travels through the 63, the gate of curiosity, the 22, the gate of surrender, the 36, the gate of miracles, the 17, the gate of anticipation, the 21, the theme of self-regulation, the 51, initiation, the 42, conclusion, and the 3, innovation. It's interesting to note that Mercury and the Earth are pretty close together. They have been pretty close together. And so thematically, we're kind of playing with some core themes. They are similar themes to the ones I just read to you from the Sun and the Earth. So Mercury is kind of playing out in these similar themes, really basically saying, really pay attention to keeping your mindset open, your mindset clean, taking care of the amplitude of your frequency, taking care of your own internal and external capacity to take care of yourself, to regulate yourself, and to be ready for the springtime of the creation of your dreams. Things are about to pop. Things are about to blossom. It's been a very interesting beginning of the year. And if you felt a little challenged or you felt like there's been a little bit of a hitch in your giddy up, it's just because we've been kind of clearing out muck, and we're still going to do a little bit of that in March. But a lot of what March is about is you've made room. We've been making room for a couple of months now. Now it's time to really make sure that in that space that we've created, that we're putting really good, fertile stuff in there so that we have a good, solid ground from which to really build your dreams. Mars and Venus are two planets that really highlight the theme of relationships and relating, both personally and interpersonally and even collectively. Mars and Venus, when we talk about relationships and we talk about the theme of preparation and alignment for March, remember I said at the very beginning, your relationships help you build resiliency. It's through our relating and being in community that we build resiliency. And so certainly, again, as we're looking at preparing the way, setting in place a matrix for expansion and growth and for putting our dreams, the seeds of our dreams into good, fertile soil, one of the things we really need are deep relationships and community with each other. Again, Mars and Venus are dancing very closely together this month. So Mars travels through the 13, the 49, the 30, the 55, and the 37. And Venus travels through the 13, the 49, the 30, the 55, the 37. And then the 63, the 22, and the 36. So then Venus kind of catches up with Mercury. So we have these ongoing themes playing out in Mars, Venus, and a little bit in Mercury that really is about, first and foremost, with that gate 13, the gate of narrative, saying, what story are you telling? Who is the you that's creating your reality? Is that you that's creating your reality telling a darn good story? Or are you still holding true to a story of limitation? Are you holding yourself back from telling the true story, the real story of who you really are? If not, where do you need to change the nature of that story and make it a better story? And then where do you need to go back to your relationships? This is relationship work this month. And make sure that those relationships, your intimate partnerships, your business relationships, your relationships with your family, your relationships with your friends, your community, where do your relationship agreements maybe need a little bit of rewriting? Are your relationships upholding your value? Are your relationships reflecting that story you're telling about who you are? If you've up-leveled your story, do you need to also make an upgrade in your relationships? That's important. And that might mean that sometimes some of those relationships, in the rewriting of those agreements, those relationships maybe need to come to a conclusion. Or the way in which you do your relationship, you need to have a conscious conversation about, we need to change the rules of engagement here. We need to up-level our relationship agreements. And of course, in conjunction with that, we need to make more room for passion, for faith, and for peace. We need to make more room for allowing ourselves to consciously craft something that's going to be more supportive, more nurturing, more intimate, more collaborative. And certainly I would say this is a really good month to take stock of your relationships and to really explore the question, are the relationships that you are engaged in genuinely embodying your value and your worth? And do you feel supported? And are you giving support in a way that sustains not only yourself, but also allows you and your partnerships to be more resilient, to be able to really meet the changes ahead, the shifts ahead, to really have people in your life who can stand in the gap for you on those days when you don't have faith? Because you will always have a day or a series of days or a cycle where faith feels hard, right? We always have those days and those cycles. And when we have those cycles, we need people who can stand in the gap for us. When we can't see our way across, a leap of faith, we need people who are standing in the gap, holding their hands up so that we can walk across that gap, even if we don't know if we have the faith ourselves. We need people who have faith in us to help us span that gap. And so part of the matrix for what you're going to do, part of what needs to be prepared this month is for you to make sure your relationships are able to hold you and to hold a vision of a dream that's big enough and expansive enough and joyful enough for you to have the faith to trust the process to build it. So that's my conclusion for this month. We start off next month. Again, as I said, we got a Mercury retrograde cycle. We got a solar eclipse next month. So we got some big things coming up. So do the work this month, deep breaths. I actually think it's going to be a really good month. I feel like last month was a little bit hard. I think this month has the potential for some really big growth and expansion, and for really starting to put, feet and legs onto the mission, that whatever mission it might be that you're engaged in. Do remember, again, intentional self-care. Restock, replenish, regenerate, get your energy sustained, and then stick to that. Be disciplined enough for the rest of the year to stick to that pattern of self-renewal, because you deserve it. Because you deserve it. There's no other reason other than you deserve it, and don't settle for less than what you deserve. So again, just to clarify, Jamie posted here in the chat. We'll post below later on when we post the video on Facebook. Do join us if you need extra support, or you want to go deeper into your chart, or you want to hang out with me, or you want to hang out with Teresa in the Understanding Human Design community. Again, come join us. We're giving you a free trial membership for a month. Come in, see what we've got for you. Again, if you love the transits, you can get a free ebook version of the Quantum Human Design Evolution Guide in the Understanding Human Design membership community, plus the weekly transits. if you don't want to join the membership, you can still buy a copy of the 2024 Quantum Human Design Evolution Guide. Any major bookseller has those. So, all right. Well, happy birthday, Antoinette. I'm glad that this was a gift for you. Happy birthday. Have a good one. Take good care of yourselves. Be well. And we'll talk to you next month.